أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم نور قلوبنا واشرح صدورنا بنور القرآن والإيمان والإسلام اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we will continue with the 25th word. And so just to give you an idea of what we've been studied so far in terms of content, the hierarchy, just the names of the sections that we studied. So this is the 25th word, in the second light and then second beam, and second beam has several quality of eloquence or several type points of eloquence as we can witness in Quran. And we studied so far the three of them, and today inshallah we will continue with the fourth one, fourth point of eloquence. And I read this part, I didn't understand it, I understood it so wrong. Then I said, okay, let me read the Turkish version as well. And then things became much clearer. And I realized that what I understood first was almost irrelevant. So inshallah, what I understand now is somehow relevant. If not, please do not hesitate to warn and correct, because I already witnessed once that I can understand things terribly, very wrong. So I'm open to the possibility of a second occurrence. So let's start, inshallah, read together and see what the author is trying to say. Ya Allah, it sometimes happens that the Quran mentions the divine creatures. Quran mentions the divine creatures with a, so first of all, okay, before going any further, what do you understand with divine creature? Like, does it mean, for instance, if we are talking about Yusuf is a creature, a divine creature, Yusuf being a divine creature, does it mean Yusuf has some divine qualities? Is other saying that there are some creatures which are divine? So what do you understand from this phrase, divine creatures? Okay, it seems nobody has any idea about divine creatures. So what I understand is, obviously the author is not saying that some creatures are divine, but rather I guess it's referring to the act of creation being an act of the divine one, meaning whatever you see as a creature, it is coming from the divine. It's not happening by itself, it's not created by some other things. It is divine. The act of creation is divine. So every creature is divine in that sense. It's they are related, tied to the divine. Quran mentions the divine creatures, so this could be anything. Any creature is created by divine, so every creature in that sense would be a divine creature. Quran mentions the divine creatures with a particular arrangement of the sentence. So this part gave me some trouble first, because I thought the author was talking about the arrangement of the sentence, as if, you know, which word is used after what word, or you know, the grammatical chain of things. But I think that what it means, it could be, yeah, you know, the arrangement of sentence also relevant. But I guess main point here is that Quran mentions the particular arrangement of these divine creatures, or the sentences, these mentioned, the allusions refer to these divine creatures in a particular arrangement. So we will see an example. So it will talk about insan, it will talk about the human being, and it will talk about the creation of human being in a certain arrangement. Okay, so this arrangement, the particular arrangement, it's the arrangement of the divine creatures. With a particular arrangement, then truth showing that the creatures are within an order and balance, and that they are its fruits, and that they are its fruits. So this they and its part also a little complicated. So any suggestions there? What is they and it refers to? So I think what the author is saying here is that the Quran mentions a divine creature, okay? One creature, and then talks about its particular arrangements, how it comes to the existence in a particular order from our perspective, of course, and then show how this creature have some the fruits, by showing that there are fruits of this creature. So the creature is in a particular order, and there are some fruits, or you may think as the end goal, the outcome of this order, outcome of this creature being in a certain order. Showing that the creatures are within an order and balance, and that they are its fruits, they have their fruits, affords a sort of transparency and brilliance, affords a sort of transparency and brilliance. Okay, Yusuf says creatures are fruits of order. I guess we can understand in this way as well, which is better. A sort of transparency and brilliance. This transparency and brilliance then show the divine names, the manifestation of which is through that mirror-like arrangement. So I believe, again, that's me, I believe this is a really not so good translation. So what I understand instead, it says, through this narration, giving this order, how this order, you know, as a fruit, give rise, quote unquote, the creatures, this and the divine order, divine, the balance, such a narration transfers reflect the name on it. Have this particular order give, as a fruit give rise to human being. And such a narration, such an order, such a balance reflects, shows very clearly divine names, some beautiful names on them. Okay, this is what I understood. Again, I might be wrong, but this is my current understanding. It is as though the above mentioned creatures are words and the names are their meanings. So when it comes to that way, like when it talks about the creature, its particular order, how beautifully, how orderly it is created, such an arrangement of ayah give an impression that this, whatever is mentioned, this creature, human being, for instance, and its the phases, as if there are some words, and when you read these words, what comes to your mind is the meaning of this word, right? And the meaning is this divine name. If I write on the screen, for instance, that I'm trying to find a simple word here. Clay. Okay. I say clay, or I show clay, and what comes to your mind is this mud-like thing that you can shape and make a vase, for instance. So clay, right? This is what comes to your mind. As if the author is saying, when you look at this creature, as it is narrated by Quran, what comes to mind is a divine name. So as if this creature is now, the written form of this divine name. The creature is letter, the combination of letters, and the meaning of these letters is divine name. It is as though the above mentioned creatures are words and the names are their meanings, or the seeds of the fruits, or these names are the seeds of these fruits. So when you look at this the creature, the human being, you say, okay, it must be, its seed must be this divine name, or their essences. For example, and it gives the example from Surah Mu'minun, I guess. Mu'minun. Yes, the ayah 12, 13, and 14. Men, and we did, sorry, why it starts with men, I didn't get it, sorry. وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ. So, okay. And we created men. Okay, men we did create, I see. Men we did create from quintessence of clay. So we created men from clay in, plain English. Then we placed him as a drop of sperm in a place of rest, firmly fixed. Then we made the sperm into a cloud of, I don't know how to pronounce this. Sorry, I terrible, sorry. congealed. Any help there? Okay, but it says yes, congeal. Blood. Then of that clot, we made a fetus lump. Then we made out of that lump bones and clothed the bones with flesh. Then we developed out of it another creature. So blessed be God, the best of creators. So it says up to this point, it talks about the particular order that this creature, humankind, has. It talks about these orders, the balance, how they relate to each other, each different phases. And such a narration, author says, automatically brings mind the meaning of so blessed be God, the best of creators. In its original, وَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. So this part comes to mind automatically, as if, you know, this narration, these words, or the word of humanity, has the meaning of Tabarak Allah, the best of creators. Ahsanul Khaliq, right? Yes, Ahsanul Khaliq. So these names, or this name, is reflected on the mirror of men with this particular order. And just to remind you, we are studying in this second beam mostly the ending of ayahs, how they end, and how these endings has this miraculous eloquence, the style of explaining or narrating things, how it is miraculous. And in this specific example, the author is saying that this narration becomes a mirror, and what is reflected on this mirror is actually this summary at the end, the name that is given. Thus, the Quran mentions in order those wonderful, strange, amazing, well-ordered and balanced stages of man's creation in such a mirror-like fashion that so blessed be God, Tabarak Allah, the best of creators, appears of itself from within them and makes itself exclaimed. A scribe who was writing out this verse uttered the words before coming to them and wondered to himself, has revelation come to me as well? So he's saying that, you know, the connection, the link between the first part, the part that I highlight, and the second part, the ending, is so strong. When a scribe, the one who is, you know, the man who is writing down the ayah, right after it writes down, you know, another creature, he himself uttered, so blessed be God, the best of creators. And then once he sees that the so blessed be God, the best of creators is actually what is coming after, he was so amazed and saying that, you know, has revelation come to me as well? Whereas, author of course corrects him, whereas it was the perfection of the order and transparency of the preceding words and their coherence which had shoved up the final words before coming to them. Okay, I talked a lot. but this is really interesting text. There are some comments. Let me read them as well, and then we can start discussing together, inshallah. Abdulaziz, he says, I never paid attention to best of creators. Creators. So he said creatures, but then Suhail corrected, yeah. Best of creators before now. What does it mean to have other creators? So as if the phrase best of creators implies that there are other creators as well, and then the Allah is the best of them. So what do you understand from this phrase, he says? That's a good point. So if you want to comment on that, please go ahead. Otherwise, you are also free to comment on any part of the text as usual. So I will wait a few seconds just to give myself credit. And yeah, Suhail, please go ahead. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you clearly.
To answer that question, فَتَبَارَكَ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ, it's to me, it's not saying that there are creators in the plural, but in that al-khaliqin, in the sense that this is like, I guess, grammatical structure, but the creatorship in and of itself belongs to God, Allah. And so one can only be the best at something if that thing is of that thing's essence or belongs to him. So as an analogy, if let's say I were a cook and I were a good cook, not that I am, but if I were, and let's say I could be the best of all cooks, then I could say I'm the best of cooks because, I've, in a sense, cooking belongs to me or it's of me. And here, it's as if saying that creatorship belongs to him because it's of his essence. So anyone else who says, well, I'm a good creator, couldn't say that, because by definition, if you were a creator, then you would be good, because then you could create anything or bring into existence anything you so please. So in one sense, it's like demolishing my perception of what other creators could be, myself or the things around me, or the body, because it just went through an example of the body, how the body develops. And in this age, people attribute the essence of a person to the body itself, and therefore attribute creatorship to the body and all the components of the body. And if you were to say that was those things were creators, then they must be the best of creators, because it's a contradiction to say I'm a creator but I'm no good, because if you can create, then you can create anything. Fundamentally, you can bring anything into existence. So it goes through these steps and says, okay, in a sense, is the sperm drop creating? Is the clinging clot creating? Is the lump of flesh creating, or the fetus? Are the bones creating? Are the flesh creating? And then are you creating when people procreate or, mature or become adults and also procreate? So those things which I may attribute creatorship to, can they be best of creators? And in a sense, no, because to be a creator by definition means you're the best at it. because you can essentially bring anything. You can say be and it is, and these things cannot. So it's not just simply creating, but it also means creating within a particular order or a particular arrangement. And it's a sense, in a sense, black and white. You either are good at it or you're no good at it. There's no in between. So these things in which I have a perception of maybe creator and giving things existence, which is, the plague of the modern age, or, in which I think things are doing things on their own, or I think I'm doing something. I think I'm developing myself as an individual. That's the premise of, like secular or materialist philosophy today, and it permeates in every part of society. Can they do anything? And fundamentally, they can't. So they're not the best at anything. And as it pertains to creatorship, they are not. So that's what that's what I took away from this verse, in that it's going through each point or each general point that I perceive in this arrangement or this process. And, if I can't find creatorship in any point in there, then what am I attributing to myself? And that is the conclusion I need to take away from that. Because I may say that, oh, well, I may have had nothing to do with the development of my body, but now that I'm an adult, now I can do as I so please. I'm intelligent. I can solve things. I can build things. I can invent things. I can create things. That's just language people use. And yet you look at yourself, and then what did you have anything to do with the process in which you are being as you are? You are not a creator of anything. And then the other thing I took away from it is that it's also kind of like the royal we in the Quran, like nahnu, in that creatorship belongs in every step or every moment. At the nutfa and the alaqa, and the mudgha, and and so on, laham, like the flesh, and then as it and then akha, another creation. Like at each point, you can say creatorship applies here, 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 here. At every moment and at every step across moments within one's life. So creatorship, in the sense of not the plurality of creators, but the plurality of moments in which creation is happening. If you're the best, or really the only one, essentially is what it's saying, then you can create as you so please in any moment you so please, how you so please, or how you so will, as the Quran says. So that's why I think the verse lists all these steps, or lists all these moments or periods in my life, to point that out to me.
Jazakallah khairan. Yusuf, we sent another text from Risale, but if you click it, it's a Turkish. So I guess he's trying to give a message to people: you should learn Turkish. I'm sure he will find the English version as well and send. Meanwhile, we can listen Sister Saira, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Usman and Barkan and all. I am so grateful that as I was listening in the passage that we have selected today, I joined after a few times that I missed, so my apologies. But again, just this morning, I read Surah Fatir or Fatir 35, the originator. And a lot of what is listed here in the fourth point of eloquence, in terms of explaining Allah Ta'ala's Khaliqus Samawati wal Ard quality, attribute, Allah Ta'ala breaks it down in this surah. So I will just kind of divert from this particular passage for a second or two, and then come back and connect with it. Like God's power in creation and his mercy in his creating all of the life. That there is only one God, so we don't have to go and ask multiple beings or entities for their godliness and their ruling. Then reassuring the Prophet ﷺ about that other messengers had come before him. So the goal for conveying the message of God is to convey the message. But the judgment lies with the one who created. Then warning against Satan also and the evildoers, and what kind of comparison there is in this surah with the good doers. Also, Allah Ta'ala points at sustenance. He points at his own power, the winds, that he brings winds, sends winds, which then form through different stages of their life cycle. Clouds formation takes place, and then life comes to a dead earth through rain, water. And he gives this simile to, or that it's similar is going to be the case for resurrection. Then all honor and power also belongs to Allah. The creation of humans, as this passage also talks about, that why it is important for humans to recognize the different stages, even the exceptional creativity within each of the stages of the human or an animal or a plant or a seed, their creation, and then becoming a full tree and a fully grown animal or human. Then the alteration of the day and night, the fact that other gods are going to be powerless, and then God's power in terms of having created the creation with diversity. Again, he reassures Allah Ta'ala, reassures Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that other messengers came with clear proofs and divine books and their enlightening scriptures. Then I seized those who persisted in disbelief. How severe was my response? And then Allah Ta'ala also before that compares the guidance versus the misguidance, that those blind to the truth and those who can see are not equal, nor are those, nor are the darkness and the light, nor the scorching heat and the cool shade, nor are the dead and the living equal. Indeed, God alone makes whoever he wills hear, but you, O Prophet, can never make those in the graves hear your call. So again, another feature of being a creator, because he's the one who knows the mechanism and the processes through which people go through their stages of living versus transitioning and then dying and then remaining dead until resurrection will come. In the last few passages of this surah, three types of believers were discussed. The everlasting reward is discussed. The rewards for the believers are discussed. The punishment for the disbelievers is discussed. Denying that Allah Ta'ala is the Khaliqus Samawati wal Ard. There again, Allah Ta'ala explains that whosoever disbelieves will bear the burden of their own disbelief, and the disbeliever's denial only increases them in contempt in the sight of Allah Ta'ala, and it will only contribute to their own loss. Very severe ayats. Then useless idols, God's power in maintaining the universe. That to me is another ayah which I would relate to this passage that we are hearing, listening today, or reflecting upon today. That so blessed be God, who is the creator, the best of the best creator, and the only creator. And the God says that I'm warning the disbelievers that if you deny what my qualities are, the evil that you plot against me, even when the warner came to you, then you are the one who is going to be like those before who were destroyed. And then again, Allah Ta'ala reminds that, but there is nothing that can escape God in the heavens and the earth, and He's certainly the all-knowing, the most capable. Lastly, Allah Ta'ala is generous enough, again, after giving such severe warning and recognizing that humanity or His creation is but His creation, and as He wills, He can do much to it, any which way He likes. He is sharing His mercy, and He's saying, if God were to punish people immediately for what they have committed, He would not have left a single living being on earth. But He delays them for an appointed time. And when their time arrives, then surely God is all seeing of His servants. So I see God, Allah Ta'ala, as somebody who is so dedicated to His own work, His own function of being God. If I were to just in an abstract sense make that analogy of course, Allah Ta'ala is above and beyond humans in our work ethics and our sense of reflection on our productivity. But Allah Ta'ala's sense of creativity and creation allows Him and only Him that level of all-encompassing powerfulness, omnipotence. And so where do we stand in front of Him? Nowhere but in surrender. And that's why Allah Ta'ala says that for wrongdoers, there is going to be no helper. And I created you and I put you through so many different stages, and now you are denying me and transgressing, and you're violating on earth, or you're not recognizing that your sustenance is from earth and from heaven. So how much more deluded as humans can we be if we didn't have, Nauzubillah, the Quran? Where will we look to? That to me is the power of Quran as a book. Maybe because again, I always say that my stage in life is such that I'm particularly drawn to Quran, as facing cancer and loss of husband in last 2.5 years and multiple other losses, personal losses. But I keep going back to Quran to find answers to Allah Ta'ala. You are there. Even death probably is a sustenance, because you are graduating me from this earth to, inshallah, when my time comes, to a better earth. So because you are the creator, you know how things work, you know what is coming down my way and what you have withheld, and what is it that you have equipped me with in terms of my ruhaniyat or in terms of my physical strength, despite all that I see challenging me as a whole, as a person. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful reminder. Abdulaziz also mentions the ayah following the ayah that we just studied, which I show on screen now. And after that, you will surely die. And this ayah comes, right after these phases, different stages of the creation. And it's as if telling us that, your life is through these stages. And the next stage of your life, so it's not end of the life, it's the next stage in your existence, in your life, is death. So you will taste death as well. And then the next stage will come. That's really interesting, really beautiful. Alhamdulillah, thank you for all who shared their thoughts about how all these things link, connect to the death and resurrection and hereafter. Alhamdulillah. So, okay, going back to text, and also if you would like to comment on Aziz's question, please go ahead as well. I mean, I have some thoughts, but I want to give the priority to others. And I now see the Yusuf's hand. Please go ahead, Yusuf.
Can you hear me well?
Oh, I can hear you, yes.
Okay. So sorry for the wrong link. So in that link, actually, the author is addressing the question in depth, quite a depth, that Aziz has asked. So very briefly, a few pieces from that part is, of course, this verse is located within the Quran, so we need to take into account who is speaking, what is the context of that speech. So definitely Quran from beginning to end mentioning oneness of the Creator. Then we have to ask, what does Quran mean by saying such a thing? Because definitely Quran is not going to claim that there are multiple gods and Allah is the best among them, but rather multiple things can be said in there. One might be that if we think that the Quran is addressing a mindset that considers, for example, given this, talking about this example, those different stages, maybe DNA is doing that, or years of accumulated chance is doing that, or laws of nature are doing that. So these are all gods in the minds of the people. Quran is saying that Allah, the creator of all of these, has to be much higher than what you are imagining. The things that you imagine are incapable of doing any of these. So as if declaring superiority of the creator relative to hypothetical gods that we attribute the creation to. Another alternative meaning that the author was studying in the link that I shared says it looks to the variation, or like maybe I would say hierarchy within the creation. So you see one creation, you see another creation which is more complex than that, and then you I mean, it is looking for the hierarchy of creation, not hierarchy of creators, but hierarchy within the creation in terms of, let's say, complexity. And then you say that your creator is beyond all of these intricately like interconnected creation. He is beyond being limited by making any of them. He can do all of them and more, sort of a message. So just to a few points regarding what Aziz was asking. But apart from that, the way the author is talking about these set of verses is, says as if the way the Quran is counting them one after the other, showing us the order within the creation, showing that one is not doing the other, but they're both, all of them are being done within an order. And the order itself is like, the order is not a external thing to produce anything, but rather those being put one after the other by someone who is beyond all of them is your creator. And the author is using taking it as a metaphor, I would say, saying that as if every word, every creation within this that follows one after the other, as if they are words which follow one after the other in a sentence or in a paragraph. And once you see that sort of an abstraction, that it is being put in front of your eyes as if like writing a paragraph, then you tend to realize, oh, so there must be a meaning behind that. The author used the word transparency, because once initially, if you consider them as individual words, you can get stuck there. But once you start seeing that words are connected to each other, immediately you start thinking about a sentence or a paragraph, and you do not get lost in individual words anymore. because now you see that every word assumes a different meaning within its context. Then the notion of meaning starts appearing to you. So if it was only a word or only a letter, it was non-transparent, meaning you can get stuck in there. You cannot pass beyond it. But once it becomes part of a paragraph, you start realizing that, oh, actually, this refers to a meaning. This is what I understand from the transparency in here. So it makes you look up in a sense and do not get lost or zoom into the paper to see the structure of the letter or the word, but rather look up metaphorically to see, oh, there must be a meaning behind that. And this is how the author is saying that by Quran counting this or order one after the other, making us realize that actually these are words, meaningful words that carries a meaning to me. So I should look up and see what it says.
Jazakallah khairan. So this is, yeah, really interesting, this transparency, because normally how we interact with the reality, the things are not transparent. They are opaque, right? When we look at them, and what we see is whatever their surface meaning is. I look at the human body and I see a human body. I look at the cells in the body and I see just cells. There's no transparency. There's like my sight stacks there. See the human body and say this is human body, and then study human body in itself. But when human body becomes transparent, it means my sight is not stacked at the human body. It goes through the human body and see what is beyond it, what is behind it, what it refers to, why it is there, what is the point of its being there, what it is trying to telling me. All these things becomes apparent to my sight. I guess this is really important because through this transparency, we see the divine names acting on them, acting in them, being their essence, being their seeds. Suhail, please go ahead.
To add to that, it's interesting. Not to get into the biological aspect of it, but just sticking to what the Quran says, it's the conclusion, so blessed be God, the best of creators. That's really a conclusion of what I see in myself. And I can only make that conclusion based off of the order in which creation is set up, or how things are made in a certain way, specifically that way that is laid out in the Quran. And when I think about it, it's the best way in which I can make that conclusion that he is the best of creators. Because when you talk about transparency, what is the least the least, or the least opaque veil, so to speak, between like me and the creator? It is really to talk about the most fundamental substance, or the most basic substance of something. And it starts off with the quintessence of clay. In that, when you just look at that, that is what separates me from being in this world and not being. And it really turns on the light bulb, in that if you really think about yourself in that you're just dust, or the quintessence of clay, that makes things transparent about what is the reality of things. And you see from that basic substance, even then you see that really man is just a drop of sperm or a nutfa, or a seed that also is transparent. um, so yes, in one sense one could say that the material aspect of the world may think opaque, but to me, I think the way the Quran presents it is, if you think about it at the most fundamental level, things become quite transparent as the way it lays it out. You know, I am just dust or clay or just a drop or a clot of congealed blood. And then from that congealed blood of fetus and flesh and bones. And then the cycle continues, so on and so forth. Um, in a sense, like, I don't think, or I can't conceive of a simpler way in which the universe could be constructed, or in mankind's existence could be constructed, so that he can make the conclusion, so blessed be God, the best of creators. Because if I just so happen to be as I am as an adult without this process or the step by step, I would never think of myself as, what is the essence of myself? Who am I really? Um, what's going on here? And in a sense, it sort of cuts down the ego, cuts down my ownership or my claim to creatorship over things, including myself. Because short of seeing the creator himself, to me, to the way the Quran presents it, I don't know how more transparent you could get between having a relationship between myself and the creator, if you see yourself in this sort of framework or paradigm. The thing is, we don't see ourselves that way every day. We just kind of take for granted that we are as we are. Oh, I just, I have these limbs, these eyes, these brain, the heart, lungs, these flesh and bones, and never thinking of my origination, never thinking about, like, really, where did I come from? And the Quran really points that out, um, and which is what makes it brilliant. Um, so, I found that aspect interesting as well, in that this order doesn't exist for the purpose of just, being fascinated and studying it, but if you really see what the essence is, then you'll see what the purpose is, and that is to make this conclusion that blessed be God, he is the best of creators.
Jazakallah khairan. That's a very interesting point. So such a narration gives both a sense of the loveliness, that you are nothing but the quintessence or essence of extract of clay. But at the same time, the narration, I guess, also give this sense of perfection, being in a perfect order, balance, as author says. So your respect of creator comes from both directions, I guess. One, you say, I'm nothing, he is the creator. But at the same time, that I am created in a perfect way, that he is the creator. So one question related to this, and also the main, the core of the text. So author says such a narration order, talking about different stages of a creature, brings to mind the perfection, or the being the best, most beautiful of the creator. So how these two related in your mind? Like, why do you think when you read such an ayah talking about different stages of a creature, let's take it as a human being, when you read all these stages that you go through, why it tells you that your creator is the best creator? And Abdurrahman, I saw your hand, so please go ahead. You don't have to answer my question. It's just the question to everyone. Go ahead, please. Okay, I see you don't want to talk anymore. Oh, he says, sorry, by mistake. Okay. Suhail says, it is as if one is infinitely distant and infinitely near to the creator at the same time. In that I am distanced due to the material nature, but at the same time, it is only clay that separates the two. While I am infinitely distant from the creatorship, I am infinitely near to the creator, hence the conclusion. Okay, Jazakallah khairan. So let me repeat my question. How talking about this order, balance, or the stages, different stages, says or exclaim that he's the best creator? That's my question. While waiting for your comments on that or other parts, going back to question about, he's being the best of creators. So the people already, I think, mentioned different aspects of it. There's also one thing which is related to our understanding, our way of our means of connecting to the reality of the universe. The others also mentioned this, but just to to highlight that I do see, as Yusuf mentioned the creation in different stages, or in a hierarchy. And every time I interact with a creature and thinks about how it comes to existence, I have an understanding of its creator. But then I see this understanding is mistaken the next time I interact with another creature, or once I have a better understanding of this creature. Which goes back to, I guess, to my question that I posed a few seconds ago. Why talking about these stages somehow says that it is the best creator. So when I look at the human being, first I see just another animal with no fur, right? And some people are stuck there. They say, well, yeah, humans are furless animals who can talk, who can socialize, whatever. But as I study more, and I reflect more on human myself, I see all these different stages I go through. how I am shaped from one form to another form, and how there's a perfect order, how there's a perfect balance, how there's a perfect relationship between these different forms, different stages that I go through. As I study deeper, and I see there are all these different parts coming together, and they come together in a perfect order. And I see, as Suhail was saying, that the human being, as I interact with this perfect creature in front of me, who can who can connect with the universe in infinitely many ways. It's being created just out of a clay, or a sperm drop, or a cloud of blood, or a lump of flesh. That these great qualities are manifested on such a lovely being. Then I say, whoever is creating this creature must be the best creator that I can think of. Whatever I thought before is not enough. Whatever I conclude before about him is not enough. He is the best. He is better than what I thought. He is the best. Yusuf, let's continue with you, inshallah.
So I think first, but the way the Quran is describing, so your question was, how does this orderly or the order within the creation, within the existence, indicates creator being the best of the creators, or the most beautiful of the creators? So, like, by looking at the stages, what we can say is, first, it is highlighting that they are being created. First is what I need to observe. Like, it doesn't happen by itself, or one is not doing the other, because these are possible claims that I can come up with. I can say that, oh yeah, this sperm is making the cell is making multiple cells, so on and so forth. But the way Quran is connecting one to the other, tying one to the other, showing us a pattern that continues, but each element within that pattern is different than the previous one. So if I say, oh, sperm does this, and then cell does the other one, and then a bone makes this, but the action is the same. The pattern, the order is the same. So dur must be the same. I cannot attribute action to any individual in this picture. So highlighting that it is being done, and it is being done by apparently different agents, yet the action is the same because the order is the same. So order, once we come to the order, we realize that there must be an orderer, because it cannot happen by itself. It cannot happen by any of these, any of the apparent actors that are observable within this action that's taking place in front of my eyes. If I were to say order does it, like, it sounds very awkward, because order is a pattern that I extracted from what I am observing. It's not like an externally existing thing which is going to impose whatever I am observing. Then I say, oh, the doer of all these is so. First, I say that there must be a khaliq, and then, yeah, I mean, the maker, a creator. Then the way it is being done, I say, oh, it's so beautifully done. In a sense, if again we were to go with the metaphor that the author is saying, let's say you see words, I mean, individual letter, you might say that, well, it's just a letter standing in there. It's not maybe even a letter. By chance, some ink was dropped on the paper. But as I see words being put one after the other, I start realizing that there must be someone who is writing them, who is putting them one after the other within, I mean, especially if I start seeing a meaning is starting to appear. And to the extent that I start observing the meaning becoming beautiful, now imagine these are words of Quran, and the way that they are being put one after the other, you start realizing how the meanings of Quran are solving your problems. Say you have an existential crisis. You say, why am I here? What's going on? And where am I going to? And then those words of Quran, you start seeing how beautifully it is answering your questions and providing you with a satisfactory answer. The beauty there appears in, if you like, the meaning domain. The way it's being put one after the other, you realize how beautifully the speaker has spoken in Quran. So this is why I would say, how does beauty arise from the order? I guess in this example, it's clear. My sense of beauty says that once it sees this pattern of creation one after the other, it is pretty much like a paragraph being ordered with words, but meaningful, in a meaningful way. I say, well, this is beautiful. Thank you.
Jazakallah khairan. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but you tied the beauty that I see in this order to the creator being the most beautiful one, or it's his being the most beautiful creator, the best creator. So a similar phrase is used for the names as well, right? In Quran, Asma al-Husna. We translated best of names or the most beautiful names. But I guess a similar understanding is there as well. We see all these qualities in the universe, in creation. And as we reach a beautiful meaning of them, a beautiful form of them, we say that, okay, this goes to the creator. The same way the creation, as we see the act of creation in front of us, as we see the beauty in them, we say that this beautiful form of creation goes to the creator. So also, while I was listening to you and reading the ayahs, again, it reminded me this, the juggler who, plays with things, throws some balls, and then, collect them in an orderly fashion. That I see that the creation is a human being, for instance, is manipulated from one stage to another, from one form to another. There is this manipulation. And this manipulation, as Yusuf said, is being done in a so beautiful way. It's so professionally, from my perspective, so professionally that, I say, whoever is manipulating these things must have the perfect control over them. That they change forms, they change, colors, shapes, but at the end, what comes as a fruit, as an outcome, is so beautiful. Compare a juggler throwing eggs and making a beautiful, presentation, entertaining us, versus I'm trying to throw these eggs and all of them broken, being broken. So what I see in creation, all these manipulations, all these changes are done in a very beautiful way. That the one who manipulates them must be the best of the manipulators. Okay, I'm looking at the hands. There's no hands. We can continue with the rest of the text and inshallah finish the fourth quality of eloquence, point of eloquence today. And for example, author says, gives the example from another ayah. So let me, okay, this one, yes. This is from Surah Araf, and ayah 54. Again, talking about an orderly creation in an orderly fashion. Your sustainer is God who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and is firmly established on the throne of authority. Throne of authority being the, sorry. Oh, okay. Just kursi. No, sorry. Arsh. He's, I don't know, ascended, it says, ascended on the arsh. The throne, the translation, established on the throne of authority. He draws the night as a veil over the day. Could you just give me a second, please? Sorry.
While Birkan is away, let me go through the verse. So, the Arabic is إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام. So indeed, your Lord is the one who created heavens and the earth at 6 days. ثم استوى على العرش. Then he spanned, in a sense, the entire arsh being translated as throne, but the way I understand it is it's a metaphorical language for, let's say, once England was like Commonwealth of Britain, think about it. So Queen's throne was in Britain, but also in India and also in some African countries, so on and so forth. So the throne is representative of ruling. So ثم استوى على العرش in this sense, I guess. يغشي الليل النهار يطلبه حثيثا والشمس والقمر والنجوم مسخرات بأمره ألا له الخلق والأمر تبارك الله رب العالمين. I'm going to go from this translation here. He draws the night as a veil over the day, each seeking the other in rapid succession. He created the sun, the moon, and the stars, all subject to his command. Is it not his to create and to command? So this part is ألا له الخلق والأمر. Is it not his to create and to command? Blessed by God, the sustainer of all the worlds. Brother Birkan, you can take over. So apparently Birkan is not available yet. Okay, so I keep reading. In this verse, the Quran points out the sublimity of divine power and the sovereignty of dominicality. It shows an all-powerful one of glory established on the throne of his dominicality, who, with the sun, moon, and stars, like soldiers under orders awaiting his command, rotates the night and day one after the other, like two lines or two ribbons, one white and one black. And I do not see the next page, unfortunately. Anybody who has the next page want to continue reading?
Unfortunately, I only have the book in Arabic, so I can't help with going to the next page.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. I have the kind of book in front of me. I'm trying to follow up where you left. One black, one white, right? Yes. Okay, I think Brother Burkan is back.
Oh, I apologize for.
No problem.
Yeah, but there's a small family urgency, nothing serious, alhamdulillah. So if you don't mind, I will end the discussion here. So we have like 7 minutes. I again apologize, but again, thanks to God, it's nothing serious. Sorry for that. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. الفاتحة.